Hey folks, welcome to Jonny Oklahoma Show. We're glad you're back, and tonight we're going to have us a little bit of fun and talk about some more basic stuff for you. How you doing, Buzz?
I'm not doing half bad.
It's better than all bad.
That is better than all bad. Today, we're going to go through a standard Jonny Oklahoma rig and a standard wannabe Buzzz setup.
Buzz, you want to start us off?
I will start us off. Here's what I have as I'm tapping the microphones with this thing. Here is my Cast King 7-foot long medium. Actually, there's two tips to this. When you go with the Cast King stuff in the medium level, they have two ends. They've got a medium and a medium heavy. And rather than really play with them, I tend to keep the medium on there. And the nice thing is if I break it, I've got a spare. That way I don't ever have to cry about it. So I use a spinning rod. And the reason I do, let's be completely honest, is I don't know how to properly set up all the different drags versus the brakes versus the this is and that's on a casting unit. So this is very simple for me. The only adjustment I have is drag. I keep my drag fairly light until I catch something. Why? Because it's a little lighter on the bearings, which will make the unit last a little longer. Again, nice cheap stuff. I was using very high visibility line, but I kind of went to a more invisible line. So I'm either moss green or dark charcoal or black. I didn't see the benefit of having a high visibility line. And when you do a high visibility line, you have to have an invisible leader. And so that's more knots in your line and more different things that can break.
More weak spots.
More weak spots. And I run between 15 and 20 pound braid. Now that's usually a little too much for standard line of what we fish with. But because the braid I use is all either 8 strands or more, it's very flexible, it's very thin. I found you can go a little heavier on braided line. If I ran a monofilament or a fluorocarbon, I run 10 to 12 pound. But on my braid, I tend to like to run 20. Now, I ran with a group for about a decade, and we were an independent testing company. Mm-hmm. Well, that's kind of played in my brain, and I like to test things as much as I like to fish. So when I'm out there, sometimes I'll try a lure for 1 or 2 casts just because I want to see how it swims. And I'll buy a new one that's kind of like it, and I'll cast it, and I'll kind of compare between the two. Because I'm changing rigs so often, partly because I'm always testing in my brain, I run a swivel at the end of my line, rather than tie the line onto my different lures, because again, in fact, yesterday I went out, I did 1 cast with, I hate the way this swims, put the lure away, I'll never use it again, because it just didn't do what I wanted it to do. So I use a swivel. Now, we as men, we go to either on the internet or we go to Bass Pro, yep, and we go, whoa, look at that swivel. Mm-hmm. That swivel will hold a 60-pound fish. That's got to be better. Well, it's actually not. Nope. And here's why. You want to find the smallest and lightest swivel that you can actually get your hands in and get to change your rig.
You're looking for low profile.
Low profile. You want something that's not heavy. Because when you get these monsters, again, I've also tried real, chrome looking things. They tend to not catch as much as the flat blacks. And I think it's just a visibility thing for the fish. But when you get something that big, they're that heavy. When you get something that heavy, it takes your rig that you want to swim. Let's say you're doing a square bill, a shallow diver, and it's wanting to swim like this. You put something like that. It's the same thing as putting a giant weight on the front. Mm-hmm. So now it's trying to swim wrong, completely screws up everything. So I go with the lightest of the swivels that I can actually get my fingers to. So spinning rod, spinning reel. Again, this is a nice cheap reel. I got this off Temu for about $35. and 20-pound braid onto a swivel, and that's me. So that's pretty much me. Cheap spinning reel on a decent rod, 20-pound braid with a swivel on the end so I can quickly adjust and put on different rigs and go anywhere from a drop shot to a crankbait in 30 seconds.
Yep. Makes it short, sweet, 2 point.
How about you? What do you run?
Well, I am a little different. I like a bait caster. That's what this is. This one's a low profile. You can see it sets real low to the rod here. This is also a 7-foot rod. This one is a medium heavy, and it's got a fast action, which means that tip down there does not bend quite as fast, and it's not quite as flexible as some rods are. And what it does is it allows me for a quicker hook set. I usually run somewhere between 10 and 12 pound line on these, and the reason I do that is just when I'm out and I've only got a little bit, I'm going to do something real simple. I'm going to do something really fast, and I'm going to move through the water as quick as I can. I'm going to be changing baits in and out, so I also use a swivel. This rig right here is literally the cheapest rig I own, and I was at Walmart one day, crazy, and I was in their fishing section, and I was looking to see what kind of rods and reels they had, and I saw this rod, and it just kind of jumped out at me. It was a pretty decent looking rod, and I saw it said OTX on here, and I was thinking, what on earth is that? Well, it's Ozark Trail Extreme. And if you don't know Ozark Trail, it's the Walmart brand of fishing stuff. And I thought, there's no way. And this rod was only $35. Now, this is what they say is an IM7, but I thought there's no way that could be a IM7 rod. And I'll be darned if it's not. Boy, this is one of my favorite rods, and it's got really, really incredible feel. The reel I got off of Amazon. It's made by a company called Swivels, and I saw it. It had, I believe this one's got 10 bearings in it. It's also got a 10 magnet braking system, and I thought there is no way that they could make a reel that nice that is not going to be cheap. And it was saying it was only about $30, $35. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. So I ordered it. I put it on here. I tried it. And holy cow, I like it. I find that when I put new line on, I go out and I put a practice plug on. I'll throw it out there a couple times. I'll get this thing balanced in. And from that point on, I very rarely backlash on one of these buggers. Now, when you say balancing, this one's a lot different. Buzz talked about how he's got his adjustments on his drag. I've also got on this side a 10 magnet braking system, and I can adjust that. It's got several different points on there, and so I can adjust it to a really heavy brake system or braking point, or a very light braking point, and I keep it as light as I can personally. Then right here, this big star right here, it's got 5 points on it. That's my drag, and I keep a light to medium drag on it. And then this last spool right here, that is a tensioner for the spool itself. And what it does, it has a little pad up here underneath this cap, and the tighter I get it, the slower that spool will spin. So what happens is when I put a bait on here, depending on the weight, I hit this button, I let the line out. If it drops too fast, I know I don't have enough weight on that spool, and so I'll tighten that down a little bit. I don't have enough tension on it, so I'll tighten it down a little bit. If I hit the button and it doesn't drop at all I do is back that little button off just a little bit at a time until that lure starts to fall. And once I get that bugger dialed in, oh my goodness, it's so much fun. I love how they put the great big handle ends on them. That makes a lot of difference. And now Buzz was talking about swivels. I use a swivel too, and I go with the lowest profile swivel I can put on a line when I'm using one. And you'll find all kinds of people that say, well, you got to have a swivel. Others will say, well, if you have a swivel, you got to have a little swivel or a big swivel. There are others that do nothing but tie their baits on. And I don't see if there's anything wrong with anything. If I'm using a spinner, I tie it on. I don't use a swivel with a spinner. If I'm using a crankbait, I've definitely got a swivel on there. Or the bigger the bait is, the bigger swivel, because it doesn't take away from the profile of the bait.
Yeah.
But that is my rig right there. I really enjoy it. It is a really cool rig for just $70. So
Well, and that's the thing. And you talked about brand names. Guess what I'm running? Woohoo! Same one.
Scaling?
Yep.
Yep.
It's a 14 bearing. It's the SK 3000. I like their 3000s. I like their 4000s because I have such big meat paws for hands. I've got to get the center of the thing away from my hand, so this baby, as it's spinning around, doesn't hit my knuckles.
Yep.
I tried a 1000, I tried a 2000. Nope, tick, 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 tick. The 2000 was actually worse. But yep, you don't have to break the bank to get a really good unit.
you really don't. You really don't. So Buzz and I both talked a little bit about swivels, and we want to continue that conversation here for just a minute, because once you have your rig down, you know what you want, then it's time to dress the end of it, which is weights, swivels, bobbers, hooks, lures, whatever you're going to use. And so we've got several different swivels out here, and we've got them all the way down from the most basic of swivel, to the new speed clips. And Buzz talked about color. This one is a darker colored one than this. This is this one over here is kind of a chrome, a silver color. And when it's moving through the water, it's going to have flashes of light. When that fish sees flashes of light in front of the fish, something's off. Something's a little different. With the darker one, he's not going to see near as much of that, and it's not going to distract from the bait. You want the fish to focus on the bait. So make sure you're fishing with something that's going to be in line with that. Now, if you're using a silver lure, that one might be just fine. But for most lures, I'd go with a darker color. Now, Buzz, you've got two different swivels up here, two different styles of swivels. You want to explain the difference between the two?
Well, yeah. So the speed clip, I use speed clips with a swivel on the front. And the reason speed clips are great, if you don't have the dexterity with your fingers, it's a lot easier. And we're going to show you some up close and personal videos of this. A lot easier to load your bait and unload your bait because there's no clips to put afterwards. I normally run the clipped ones, and I have to put it on, and then I have to make sure my clip is on to hold all the tension of pulling in a big fish.
Right.
These, there is no clip. Slide it on, slide it off. And I'll show you some up close and personal stuff. There are angles on the overlapping piece of wire, so going on and going off is easy as can be. So if you don't quite have the dexterity in your hands, or if you're getting a little older, or your eyes aren't great, this is a great way to run a swivel on the end of your line.
Once again, simple, fast, and easy. This is the old school style. It's kind of a loop with a hook on it. And I too have a lot of hard times with my hands. I worked for a company a couple of years ago that ruined my hands, and I've got about 40% disability in each one. And so I can't do the things I used to do. And if I've been out there fishing all day and it's getting late and I'm getting tired and I'm getting hungry, I have a hard time getting these buggers to clip in there, and even just to pick up the O-ring on a bait so that I can hook it on here. And so I have been looking at switching to the speed bait or speed clips myself, because I'm going to have to move to something that's going to be a little bit easier for me.
There's two. You can start.
Awesome. Thanks, Buzz. So that is what we call a basic rod and reel setup. You got a good spin cast, got a good bait cast, you got the right swivel. It's time to get out there. We'll see you on the water.
All right. Catch you later.